Hey everybody, this is Dan,
And this is Ron.
and today we're doing something a little different. We're talking about a pretty recent movie, and we have the director on with us. We have the CJ, the director of Lady Buds, which came out in 2021, late in 2021 too. So this is maybe like the freshest we've ever covered a movie.
I was going to say, I think this might even be newer than when we saw the, what was it, Jay and Silent Bob reboot?
Maybe, yeah, because he was touring that around for a while. But
yeah, welcome, CJ.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys about the film that actually was released Thanksgiving weekend. So it was only a couple of months ago. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And it made the festival circuit beforehand too, right? So.
Correct. Yeah, we launched the film. It premiered at Hot Docs out of Toronto last April, May, and then it went on to have a really nice festival run. Was fortunate enough to be able to travel a little bit in between the pocket of COVID spikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been great. We went to the Denver Film Festival, Doc NYC. We premiered in Mill Valley in California, in the US, and it's doing really well. It's on iTunes and Amazon and a bunch of platforms, and it's available on VOD. So it is out right now. You're catching me at a great time of the life of the film.
We can verify that it's available because we watched it.
Yeah.
Using one of the VOD services.
Right. I don't know if we should state a particular name. We don't want to promote one over the other.
Yeah, but it worked. There was like,
yeah,
she's not lying. There's a movie there, and you can buy it.
Yeah, we watch on a platform that rhymes with Glamazon, but we won't say which.
but anyway, so I guess like what would you say the kind of basic premise of the movie is?
Well, I followed 6 women as they came out of the shadows of the cannabis underground in California to enter the legal regulated market. It was at a time, it was about 4 years ago when the project started, when legalization was on the horizon in California. I knew we were about to see a major change in the economy and the way people thought about cannabis, and I thought it might be a good premise for a story. It was to see how these women would kind of, make the transition from working, in somewhat of the illicit market and the quasi-legal market in California and enter the regulated market and having to deal with, the taxes and the regulations and just to see how they would survive because, for decades, California and the Emerald Triangle have been known, for producing the best cannabis in the world. And here was this moment where, all of these tens of thousands of people that have been farming cannabis in Northern California were going to be confronted with a big choice and a big change. So what ensued was a lot of drama in the film. I'm really proud of the movie. So the movie really is a look at what it takes for a legacy farmer to enter in a legal market. And it also talks a little bit about the history of cannabis in NorCal, the activism, and it has a look at what it takes to enter a new industry.
Whatever it takes. And so do you know any of the subjects going into this, or did you just sort of have the idea like, I want to make a movie about this subject, I'm going to find the people to kind of tell that story with?
I didn't know anybody. All I knew was that, we were going to be able to legally buy weed down the street and very soon. And I was just fascinated and doing a lot of research in the cannabis industry. And I noticed that there were several women that were involved in the industry. And I was pleasantly surprised because I had always thought about, cannabis and weed as being a bro culture, the stereotypes in the media. And I was just really intrigued, and I started to go to networking conferences for women entrepreneurs in cannabis and farmers markets, and I started to interview women, and it just started from there. And they invited me up to their farms, and that was amazing to see a cannabis garden for the first time. And then after I interviewed so many different women, I've interviewed about 100 people for this film. I wanted to pick the most diverse voices to tell the different specific stories in cannabis that I wanted to bring to light. So I didn't know any of them, and now I'm deep in the cannabis community.
Were the hundred people that you interviewed? So I know you whittled it down to the 6 women, but were were they all women?
No, they weren't. That, I included everyone from like sheriff, the Humboldt sheriff in that number. The interviews, there were so many of them, but I did do probably 30 or 40 interviews with women that were whittled down to the specific diverse voices that I put in the film. I mean, maybe more. I mean, I interviewed a ton of people.
Yeah, I mean, what you were saying, like, I don't think, at least if there was a bro in this movie, it was like very quick and I missed it. With like, an Alfred Hitchcock cameo somewhere.
They exist. They still exist.
And so did you learn anything like exciting about just like weed in general doing this? Like I imagine you probably like learned some interesting stuff about. I mean, I get like the plant and the process and everything, speaking to so many people that are so intimately involved with it.
I did learn a lot from it. I've had a relationship with cannabis for a long time, since I was 14.
Oh my God, I love that phrasing. I love that, a relationship with cannabis. That's like, that's going into my dating profile.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. What I mean by that is I've gone in and out of phases of like my relationship to cannabis. And at the beginning, it was very much I wanted to just escape and have fun. And then it's become more spiritual. It's become more about, it's part of my wellness routine and, for creativity and just for using it very mindfully. So what did I learn? I learned that the sun-grown gardens, cannabis gardens, are just gorgeous and magical, and that there is a difference between sun-grown and indoor, in terms of being organic and different methods of farming. I learned a lot about the history of cannabis. It's really great to really understand the plant and its properties, and even understand the different, strains, chemovars, and just, everything about the farming of it fascinated me. In fact, to the point where I had a garden on my rooftop deck and grew 6-foot plants a couple summers ago.
Wow. Okay.
Just to kind of like see what it's like to farm cannabis and be in the shoes of the farmer. So yeah, and it's fascinating. And one thing I like about legalization is that, the products and the packaging, well, not the packaging, but the products have a consistency to them because they have to in the regulated market. They have to be tested and all that stuff. So I actually like, finding a product and having a consistent effect so that you can dial it in and,
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Like that's why like there's the FDA and stuff. Like I think that's it's a popular thing in product. And so when you found these subjects and you were interviewing them, did you get to try out some of the weed that they made? Like obviously if this needs to be something that gets cut out later, but I think we're at a point of legalization, we're probably okay. But
no, of course. I mean, it wasn't easy to gain the trust of these people. I had to smoke a lot of weed.
Oh, okay.
So that they would see I was the real deal. And I didn't have a problem with that. And, it was really nice to share, part of what they've grown with me and to learn about it. So, and not all the women are growers, some have other products like salve and, different products in the market. And it was a nice benefit of making film.
I ended up smoking up a bit before watching the movie because it just felt right. It felt wrong not to. So, I was a little high when I watched it. So in solidarity with you and the growers and the movie as a whole. So.
Right on.
Yeah, like I thought I was high when I was watching it, but like I thought I was more high when I was watching it than I am right now, but I could make coffee. So I don't know what I don't know if you guys want to vote in the comments.
Let me throw a question back at you guys, since you felt that you needed to partake before the film. Did you feel like it was a stoner film?
No, it wasn't a stoner film. Not at all. So
no, it was like, I mean, there were parts of it that felt like kind of Frederick Wiseman-y, like you're just kind of watching a process happen. But there's obviously there's like the subjects are kind of identified, but they in a way that they wouldn't be in one of those Frederick Wiseman like High School or Titicut Follies or one of those. You're kind of watching this process take place.
Mhm.
Did smoking the weed add anything? No, I think this is a movie like about weed. This is not a movie to be made or to be experienced while you're super baked. Like you could follow it, I think. Like not not like that kind of issue, but just sort of there's a more serious tone to it, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna watch it again, not high, because who knows what I missed. It was more. I don't think it's a stoner movie. I think if someone's a stoner and they watch it and at some point they're gonna say like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go smoke a bowl. But other than that, no, it's not a stoner movie. So.
But I smoked like a small business grow, so it's like appropriate, I think.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, obviously it should be of interest to anybody that has a relationship with cannabis, but also that the themes are a little bit broader. Raising children on a cannabis farm, going for your dreams of opening a business, just the queer history that's involved. I mean, it's interesting to me because people kind of go into watching the film like with a little bit of an expectation that it's a stoner movie, or like you're saying. So I think I've had interesting responses from people when the lights come up in the theater. It's a 3-tissue movie, everybody tells me, and it's not what they've expected, and I think that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think we kind of like when Ryan and I finished it. I was saying that like the alternate title of the movie could have been "It's Not Easy Being Green." It seems like everybody has a pretty rough time of it in this movie.
Yeah.
I love that, Kermit. I love that.
But yeah, it's like it's not as easy as it would seem to.
No, and people don't know that. That's another interesting thing is that people are like, I never knew this was going on. How do I support the farmers? And what can we do? And that's a fantastic reaction. I mean, I make films to ask people to think differently and look at the world differently. And it's cool that I'm able to educate a bit about what's going on right now in California and what could be going on across the country in every state.
Yeah. I mean, it almost seemed like a lot of the issues they were encountering were just sort of like basic, like kind of like transitioning from an informal business to a formal business kind of stuff, like figuring out permits and that kind of stuff. Have you heard about any kind of programs to kind of, because I know there's like programs when you're like right out of college where you can kind of sign up for like financial literacy stuff where they'll teach you what hoops you got to go through to do this or that. And I'm just kind of curious if there's anything like that floating around, just because it seemed like it would help these people.
There definitely are. I mean, there's cannabis programs now that are popping up in major universities. There's a school in Oakland called Oaksterdam, that's it's just completely like cannabis policy and business and cultivation, and it's all legit. And there's incubators for women who want to become entrepreneurs in cannabis. So there is information out there that's starting to get disseminated about how to enter the market. It's super competitive. I mean, I think the film is a cautionary tale for other states. Like what things to think about. The taxes, the regulations. Yeah. No, actually today in Sacramento, there was a large rally with the farmers and with cannabis advocates and people in the industry to ask Gavin Newsom, our governor, to have some tax reform around the taxes that are being presented to cultivators, and also to help the equity applicants, and so that everybody has a fair seat at the table. California cannabis is kind of in crisis right now because it's so heavily taxed that the movie is really happening. The movie is happening. These big companies are really just, they're able to have a burn rate that's obviously a lot longer than any smaller business or farmer
Right.
that's been up in Humboldt for the last 30 years. So these high taxes and these expectations of these financial pressures on some of the small operators are really, they're all having a hard time to surviving. So it's interesting. I'm anxious to hear what happened up in Sacramento today, but it's been all in the news here in California today and in High Times. And people just have to speak up, and there needs to be tax reform, because here's the thing, the people that are the regulators and the people that are, the people that are managing the police and all these different counties, there's this kind of like punitive holdover that, they think, and they think it's a green rush. So they're just taxing like crazy, and it's unrealistic, and it's having a detrimental effect on the smaller operators. So hopefully speaking up in the rally, is going to make some changes. I know Gavin Newsom says he's going to look at tax reform, and I mean, it's for the betterment of California, of the smaller communities, of all these people to still be able to be entrepreneurs in the space. But big money, big cannabis, they have a lot more money.
So I guess to backtrack, unless Ron has a more related question, because I was going to backtrack.
Oh yeah, so in all the struggles and say the stuff you're describing right now, some of these things are unique to the industry. But do you think a lot of the stuff like the permitting, there was the issue with the getting a place for the parking, and having, worrying about big businesses and a small business versus big business. Are some of these just what people run into in general, as well as a small business
No.
trying to compete and get businesses?
This is cannabis. This is people giving people a hard time because
Okay.
they don't want it in their backyard. They are of an old school mentality where they see these people who are now operating in the legal market as former criminals, and they want to give them a hard time. These are people that are greedy and are just looking out for bigger interests. Cannabis is like the Wild West. It's very different from any other industry. However, I will say you could compare it to, say, the dairy industry or other agricultural industries that kind of were overtaken by big dairy, big ag, But if there ever was an industry that could propose to do it differently, I would think cannabis industry would be it, because it comes from this counterculture philosophy. It would be nice if a business model was slightly different that really allowed more opportunity. When you see John Boehner saying, now's the time to get into cannabis, it's hard to believe. Well,
you kind of get the sense with these like emerging markets, right? Like I'm a Marxist, so like I believe that we've hit kind of like past the late stage capitalism thing to the point where the only places where there's expansion that can sustain the marketplace are basically in the seizure of like black market industries, or just basically like create like reverting into neo-feudalism. And you kind of see that with like crypto wasn't illegal, or I don't think crypto was ever like strictly illegal, at least in the United States. But it has that kind of thing of like, okay, this is clearly made for the black market. We've run out of markets to expand into, and now you got like Goldman Sachs has a giant crypto fund. I'm sure they probably got like a giant marijuana fund. And it's kind of funny that it ended up. I think the person who saw what actually was going to happen the most was Gary Shandling, of all people. Like there's a story about the only time Gary Shandling ever met George Carlin, the bit that he did for him was basically just like this advertisement for when weed would become legal, but this is back in like 1975.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like this completely whitewashed, like, 9 out of 10 doctors say this will fuck you up or whatever, like not quite that, but yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, right? Because like a lot of the computer hacking culture that started out very much as a counterculture, and then when the money showed up,
Yeah.
the people that want the money and don't really care where the money's coming from showed up, and
Yeah.
um,
I mean, it really do need to speak up and, demand, for more equitable access to cannabis. I mean, some of these states that are coming out with some policies and regulations around you can't even grow your own. I mean, it's like, this is a plant that should be accessible to everybody. So the idea of, exploiting it the way some of these companies are doing, like some of it's great, like because it's going to help people. It's becoming, the stigma is actually kind of slowly going away because people are realizing that there's a lot of wellness properties. But yeah, it's fascinating, right? It's fascinating to see this industry evolve, and I think and I hope that we'll see it federally descheduled, in the next decade, in the next few years. I think we're getting very close to that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the wellness property thing because I find like the people I smoke weed with, they're either like a bit younger than me or like much older than I am. It seems like this. If you graphed it, there'd be two peaks, right? Like, and, which is
weeds for everybody.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, but the middle chunk haven't found it yet.
Wait, where do I fall in then?
I think you're in the middle chunk. I think Brian's the one who's been hoarding all the weed from the Gen Xers. But yeah, so you toured this around. So I have two questions about that. Number one, what kind of logistical issues do you run into? Like, how do you tour a film during a pandemic?
That's a good
Number
question.
two, like what I feel like this film, like live screenings, you'd get a really interesting crowd. Have you met any interesting people through whatever you've been able to do of the tour?
Well, thank you for those questions. It's been kind of a challenge. I mean, I'll back up a little bit. So this film was done March of 2020, right? And the pandemic hit March of 2020. We were scheduled to premiere at Hot Docs that year, and it was really heartbreaking because the future of that year was online screenings. And what fun is that for a filmmaker? Because you don't really get to see, hear, and feel the audience response to your film. You don't know what people are thinking, right? You're just like showing this film at a film festival in a big black hole. Like,
although the one advantage at home is that every movie you can turn the sound off. Well, not every movie, because not every movie has closed captioning, but you can turn the sound off, turn on the closed captioning, and put on Dark Side of the Moon. See if it works. I haven't tried that with your movie yet. Maybe you did while you were editing, but
no, sure. But from a filmmaker's perspective, it was heartbreaking. So I had to shelve the film for a year.
Right.
So then we waited for the following year, and we premiered at the same festival. And I got lucky. That my festival tour fell in a pocket, that there was no spikes. I mean, we had a sneak preview at Outfest in Los Angeles at the Directors Guild, and we had over 300 people in there, and that was August, and it was amazing. That was an amazing screening. I was like so grateful to be able to show my film with people in the room, right? After being isolated for so long. And then I was really lucky to kind of continue with the screenings in Mill Valley, in Denver, in Provincetown, in Seattle, New York City. I really honestly lucked out because we are shut down here again in Los Angeles right now. And yeah, I met amazing people wherever I went. I mean, that's another like wonderful reward of being a filmmaker and going to these festivals, is people come up to you and they tell you, how their personal stories. They you meet so many interesting people. So I definitely did. And it's interesting because people like they're coming out of their own cannabis closet, like some people aren't really, they feel like they can talk about things, so
yeah.
So yeah, it was a great run. It was great. So I was traveling from August through December, and we did some community screenings in Humboldt and Arcata for the people in the film up in Northern California. And I feel very grateful that I had that moment, because
Yeah.
Sundance shut down this year again. It just 2 weeks ago they announced that they're not doing their in person. I was supposed to go to a different festival this weekend, actually, the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. The film is playing in, which I really was excited about going to, and they're not doing their in person. And we'll see about the rest of the year. I've already got like a handful of online screenings, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm glad people want the film, but I never can know what they think, So
Yeah, I've been hosting an online only Mary Tyler Moore festival for one person in my house for the last week. And I didn't even invite Ron. Like, don't feel bad I didn't invite you, but
that's great.
it's I'm getting used to it. I don't know.
I was having a Mary Tyler Moore season 4 marathon on my own at one point. Oh wait, that's called binge watching, isn't it? So.
It's just like a rabbit hole. Like they're all on YouTube, and I just clicked one, and that was at 10 a.m. And then I cooked a little bit right before this interview.
Guys are funny.
Yeah, so I guess with the online screens, you get to do like a Q&A at least. Is it?
Yeah, there's been some Zoom Q&As, and there's been some, virtual parties. It's been interesting. I mean, I'm grateful for everyone that wants to film and wants to do all of this. All I'm saying is that there's nothing like being in a theater with some people watching a movie in the dark.
Right.
There's nothing that compares to that, and I'm grateful that I had that.
Was this your first film as a director, or I probably should have researched this earlier, but
It's my first feature. I've done like so many shorts over the years. I've had a lot
like
of success.
documentary shorts.
Well, actually, scripted shorts and one
Okay.
documentary. I had a short at Sundance, and yeah, I've been telling stories and making films for a long time, and I was just really ready to make a feature. And so
This is a pretty big deal for you.
it's a pretty big deal for me.
Pretty cool.
It is cool, and I'm thrilled about the response of the film. We've been getting tremendous press. We've been winning awards. It's exciting. It's very, very exciting.
And so, like, have you won any like weed specific awards? I just imagine like the Oscar statuette, but it's like a blunt.
I have actually.
Like you did. Oh,
yeah. I won I won 2 cannabis Clios. So you know what the Clios are,
right? So you got a French Cannabis Film Award.
Clios are the awards for advertising.
Oh wait, what am I? I'm thinking of Agnes Varda. That's why the Clio.
Yeah.
Different Clio.
The Clios they recognize excellence in advertising, and there's a section in the Clios for cannabis marketing and advertising. So my trailer, the Ladybuds trailer, won a Clio, and then I won a Clio for directing the trailer, which is quite awesome, actually.
It's pretty cool. And so what kind of what do they give you? Do they give you like just do they just like hand you a sandwich bag full of weed and say like get out of here, or like what do they do?
Oh, I'm gonna get a Clio statue. It's gonna be like an Oscar. It's gonna be this big statue.
Oh, cool.
Oh, so it's like a Clio. It's not like a.
No, it's not like a weed Clio. It's an actual Clio, which is phenomenal. I have enough weed. I get weed all the time from everyone. I really don't need any more weed right now.
Well, congratulations on your Clio, or your 2 Clios.
2 Clios. We won an audience award for best documentary at the Mill Valley Film Festival. We're a runner-up for the best audience for the audience award with Outfest. So yeah, it's been wonderful. Awards been great.
Oh, well, congratulations on multiple awards.
Thank you.
And so, what's the next step? Do you have a follow-up project that's in the works, or?
Well, yeah, I've been developing a lot of shows that are inspired by the film, working with a handful of people to get those out and into, streamers and on, figuring out where the projects will land. I'm in the process of that right now. I have a scripted feature that I'm kind of doing a polish on. And Ladybuds is really just kind of beginning. We're going to have a broadcast premiere on a major streamer network. And in 2 months, I can't announce it yet, but it's coming. And there's a lot of Ladybuds projects we're developing. So I'm
Yeah, I
excited.
think by the time this gets posted, it may be here. Just
Maybe
for
here.
the audience, if they're like looking around for the surprise. And two, I don't want it to be like the Weekly Sun where it's like Jesus is coming back in a week, and then just every week it's the same line about Jesus coming back. Yeah, so it's probably whatever the surprise is, it probably is in the world by the time you've heard this.
Yeah, and you can obviously promote it as well when that happens.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, definitely. So there's a whole Ladybuds expanded universe.
There is. We're a movement.
Yeah.
That was like my friend Dylan had an idea for like, because he was making mumblecore movies like way back when, and he just wanted to have like 5, just like the puffy chair, but 5 of them, and then just a movie every 5-10 years. It's like The Big Chill, where it's just these like random people with nothing particularly interesting about their lives just end up in the same room, and that's like your Infinity War, right? And that's, I mean, if you got 100 people, right? Like you could totally, and you got something for them to do when they all get in the room at the end.
Are you suggesting that for a Ladybuds follow-up?
Well, Ron was just saying that there's an extended cinematic universe, so my head's kind of just.
Yes. No, I do. Yeah, exactly. We are developing a lot of really cool story ideas. Not exactly mumblecore, but that had a moment, and I love mumblecore.
Oh yeah, I don't think Dylan's even making mumblecore at this point. Mumblecore, I haven't heard anything about mumblecore in a long time.
Are you gonna follow up on any the stories of the sex women?
Sure. I mean, well, at the end of the film, there's a "Where Are They Now" cards, and I'm in touch with them all and following their journey just as a friend and a colleague at this point. Is that something you'd like to see?
Yeah, like say, I'm really curious about. I'm sorry, I'm very bad with names. So there's the woman who she had the place that she gutted and built up to build up the dispensary, and then in the card at the end, and everything's very hopeful. And the card at the end, 5 months later, got looted.
Right.
So now I really want to know what happened next. So.
Well, that's cool that you want to know that. She's actually doing really well. The store is thriving.
Okay.
And they are hoping to expand to the Los Angeles market. That store, her son and daughter-in-law are running that store. They're doing well, but there's always been a threat, an ongoing threat about organized crime targeting these stores in California.
Because you got a bunch of cash sitting in a pile.
There's quite a bit of the smash and grabs, it's called, and it's so they're always kind of like getting prepared for something like that to happen again. But when the George Floyd protests were happening, it wasn't the protesters. It was actually organized crime that was targeting these dispensaries, and it was looted 4 times, not once, but 4 times.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's an ongoing kind of threat, but they are doing really well considering. They're doing really well. The community rallied around the store and helped them get back on their feet. So yeah.
When you say community, in this case, is it primarily the community of other growers and dispensary owners and stuff, or was it also local, like other local businesses and residents?
For Sue Taylor, who we're talking about. So for in Sue's case, it was the neighborhood. It was, that she was on the border of Berkeley and Oakland, and everybody was really excited to get the dispensary up and running. So the community was more about the neighbors and her family coming together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really encouraging to hear, because a lot of the other stories were the growers all working together and supporting each other. So it's nice to hear that also people outside of the cannabis industry are there to support.
Yes, it's a good point. Yeah. No, the cannabis community is pretty loyal and pretty big, and they look out for each other in NorCal and SoCal. But being a retailer in that neighborhood, it was an exciting proposition for that neighborhood to have. And she was one of a handful of of business owners that actually got a permit to open the dispensary in Berkeley. So there's only like a few. It's not like there's hundreds and hundreds of permits to open. There's
Right.
not that many. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like now. I know in Massachusetts, I know at first it was the same. It took a really long time to issue the permits, and then there were very few, and there was a lot. Again, it's a lot of the same issues of equity. So now they're definitely, I don't know if they handed out more permits or just people are finally like able to build a business up. There's a lot more dispensaries now than, in the last year or so, probably. Were for the first few.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was curious about all, you focused on California, and I was wondering, I don't know much about the industry here. I just, I see it as a consumer. And I imagine that Massachusetts and other states have gone through, or the people in the industry have gone through a lot of the same kind of variations of the same struggles.
Absolutely. I mean, it happens in every state. I mean, we have a unique situation here where there's a legacy history, of the Emerald Triangle and the growers. I think there's different types of communities across the country, whether they've been impacted by the war on drugs and they want to get in, into the business, or if they were distributors from the days that it was illegal, or even just cultivators. I've talked to people in upstate New York about the movie and about bringing some economic sustainability to the Hudson Valley region, bringing cannabis in. And it's different in every state. I mean, Oklahoma, they're just handing permits out. It's kind of a race to the bottom there, but a lot of people are going there thinking there's opportunity. Montana just opened up and people are going there because people in California they can't make it work. So it's every state is different, and it has different focuses and different challenges. Yeah, it's an interesting time. I am actually very interested in telling stories from different perspectives and from different states. So I'm looking at that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like as a story, you could kind of extend this in any direction. Like there's a lot of places, a lot of, it's not like stuff's going to stop happening with this story,
right? Like
the broader story.
It's unfolding. Yeah, it's the story's not over.
Yeah. So can we anticipate Ladybuds Oklahoma and Ladybuds Massachusetts, and
you could franchise it like the Real Housewives, right? You could have a different.
That's actually been
like CSI.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the sky's the limit. So I'm developing a bunch of different things, and it's just a matter of finding someone to partner with financially to do it, and who wants to do it. And the sky's the limit.
So the big question this has all been leading up to: sativa or indica?
Depends what we're doing.
Well, I mean, I'm recording a podcast, so I don't know what you're doing, but
I mean, like, depends if I'm going to a concert or a party. You want to be more uplifted. If I'm going to bed, I'm gonna have a heavy indica piece of chocolate.
I don't do that well with edibles.
Yeah.
I still haven't entirely learned my lesson. I know that I don't do well with it, but every so often I'm like, okay, what about this time it's going to be good? I'm going to,
right. Yeah. And I'm not feeling it yet. Let me take more.
Right.
I was once wandering through the streets of Amsterdam to go meet some friends. And I did exactly that. Okay, let me take a small amounts. Like, well, it's not hitting. It's not, all right, I'll take a little more. It's not, oh, there it is. Oh, I don't think that's enough. Let me have a little more. It's like, I'm wandering through the streets. Of the city I barely know, to go find the park and my friends at the park. And I'm in the street. I just remember at one point just sitting on a bench because I was having a hard time just remembering how to walk. So no more edibles for me.
So how long ago did you go to Amsterdam?
I used to go there about once a year. So I have a friend there that I've known since middle school, and I was going there like once in a long while.
Well, he's not there anymore, though, is he?
He just moved to Berlin, so my next visit is going to be to Berlin, not Amsterdam. But I used to go there. I've been going there a lot over the last decade or so, like about once a year. One time there was even.
So, and when you were going to Amsterdam, were you like just so excited about the cannabis cafes? Was that like a big part of like your experience there?
The first few times, It was, and actually there were there was a period in which I had to go. I have family overseas, and so there was I would go visit them, and I would specifically have the layover be in Amsterdam, and I would do a long layover, so which was also cheaper. So Amsterdam is just a 20-minute train ride from the airport. So I would put my stuff in a locker, and I would just take a backpack and a change of shirt and a spare shirt. And I'd go in and I'd have breakfast. I'd walk around. I'd smoke a bit. I'd eat. I'd walk around, and then I'd go back. I would change shirts so that I'm not reeking of weed. And then I'd go back through it and take my bag out of and I did that a number of times. But then once it became legal here, it wasn't,
right, not a novelty.
Yeah. So then it was mostly I really like, but I really liked the city. I wasn't going there just for the pot. I was going there because I really liked the city. The pot was a nice, nice part of it. So, and then especially after it became legal in Massachusetts, which it's.
Yeah, so it's not like Western Massachusetts.
What's
like literally the only reason to go to Western Massachusetts is to get weed.
Why it's only in Western Massachusetts?
I don't know. There's like a decent Goodwill in North Adams, but I don't know. I've driven over there a few times, and I keep waiting for some to like strike my eye on the way home. Maybe I'm not like looking hard enough, but
no, you've got Massmoka, you've got the Berkshires. What's it called when the Boston Symphony Orchestra goes to the Berkshire?
Tanglewood or whatever, Minglewood.
There's the scenery. There's more there.
Yeah, there probably is.
Yeah.
So are you guys always a stoner podcast, or is this just like the reason to, come out of the stoner closet with me?
You've never been shy.
Like when you watch the news in the morning, those people probably had like 3-4 cups of coffee, but would you call it a coffee newscast? Right? Like,
I'm joking.
Oh, yeah.
I'm joking too. I'm
usually for the podcast. I'm almost always sober. There was one time, and it was specifically in support of the guest that we had on.
The guest was basically like, I double dog dare you both to smoke weed right now, and then
so went along with it. It was a mistake.
Yeah, and me when we're recording, I mean, pretty much like I buy and sell old records, so I'm just listening to records all day.
Really?
So there's not really, and I'm going to the post office and stuff, but mostly like cassettes or whatever. And so
you just deal in analog. That's all you.
I deal in whatever I can get my hands on, but that's the stuff that sells the best. I mean, I got books, I got comic books, I got like the Antiques Roadshow autism, basically. And so, yeah, there's like no reason on any given day for me to not be stoned. Pretty much.
I can't do that when I go to work. I mean, I'm pointing there because this is where the TV and the couch are, and this is where the office is. So when I go to work, I can't do that. So
yeah, I mean, because like my work day is pretty much just like wake up in the morning, I put some Mary Tyler Moore on the projector, and then I'm just like doom scrolling through eBay for as long as it takes to find something to flip or whatever. Right? Like
hilarious.
Or
maybe not doom scrolling might not be the right.
We usually do older movies because we'll discuss the whole movie. It's not really movie reviews. So we'll plenty of spoilers. And we'll spoil other movies, not even the ones we're talking about. So.
Well, I think we spoiled this movie, right? Because we talked about the N-words.
I didn't even think about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, I think hopefully people still want to see it. We haven't given everything away.
Right.
It's an entertaining film.
But it might dull the intense thriller aspect.
Well, it's about the journey or the journeys. It's.
I mean, look, I think it's a women empowerment film. Personally, I think it's like they're like superheroes to me. So hopefully people will want to be inspired and watch it and actually, have the takeaways from the film that there are. But I see this more as a female empowerment film than a cannabis film. Although it is about cannabis, but it's also about reaching for your dreams against all odds with amazing women at the helm.
Yeah, definitely.
Superhero film.
Film, yeah, that in any extended universe.
It is in the extended, and in my up here it is.
Yeah.
And we got the origin stories. We got their, their first. We got everything from the origin story to the current, and now it's like, next time on Lady Butts.
Like
Right?
you could like remake The Big Chill, but like instead of Vietnam, just everybody's like high, and that's like their connecting point. Right? It's been a long time since I saw The Big Chill. I just remember they're like talking about you jam enough people in a room like a clown car or whatever. You just have them smoke weed.
I really hear that you want me to make that kind of movie. You brought it up. I'll give you a ring when I get that going.
Like the documentary film, like Wu-Tang Clan, like you have the solo releases to build up to the tent pole.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. So I guess it's streaming on demand. The other stuff is secret. Is there anything else about distribution that we're or like somebody? I think there's like a person in Russia that listens to us when they're playing Doom Lot. So if there's anything you want them to hear,
We are actually looking for international distribution. Right now, we're only in North America. We're on iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, YouTube, Vimeo, Microsoft, Google, and any cable company that if you still have cable, you can order it video on demand. We'll have the broadcast window in March, and we're continuing to do special events and festivals and a little bit of a college tour. If we'll see where COVID brings us this year. And I'm just excited to be creating a little bit more content around this that we'll be able to see. And I love the idea of doing some follow-up content. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't thought about that. I'm still kind of like, I'm a little burned out from like the process, but it's good to know and hear that people really want to know and see where our heroines are right now. I think that's kind of a cool idea.
yeah.
And that's
So
where
what do you like to do when you're not making movies?
I like to be out in nature. I like to hike. I like to cycle. I like to mountain climb. I like to sit by the beach, walk by the beach.
Dan, half of those things are things that Western Mass is like great for. So
I know.
Yeah, she can have it.
I was just up in upstate New York a few months ago, and I actually went to college in Buffalo and graduate school in Rochester. So I have spent enough time in upstate New York. But that Hudson corridor is just gorgeous, and it's a good place to be with climate change. So not that on my mind. It's a good place.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like in a house that's near a lake, but there's a big hill, which like sucks because my driveway's dirt. So like whenever there's rain, it washes out part of my driveway. But when it inevitably floods, I got some time on the neighbors. So that's
you just need to get your kayak.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've watched that Kevin Costner movie enough times where I'll know what to do.
When I owned a house, I rent now, but when I owned a house, I actually got one at the top of a hill. We were across from a park, but at the top of a hill, because I figured, you know what, that whole area is eventually going to get flooded. And if I want this house for the rest of my life, there's a good chance in my lifetime that this is going to go up. So at least somewhat. So I don't have the house anymore. That's I'm never buying again. So.
No, why not?
When the faucet leaks, or as I've had here, when there's a leak in the radiator, I don't have to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So, as long as I have a responsive like landlord or management company or whatever, then that works well. If I don't, I find another apartment. So the people here, they're very responsive.
Excellent.
So yeah. So I'd have to worry about the details. My main concern was putting in the initial request and putting a towel to soak up the water. So
Yeah, and like you're totally right, because like me, if I get rats, like I'm the one who's got to hit them with the frying pan. Like if the well, I got when I first moved in here, I didn't realize because I'm like in the middle of the woods. So
Mice?
probably mice. Yeah, I'm a city kid.
Mice are harmless.
They were getting bold, right? Like I'd be sitting on the couch and like I can see my stove on the couch, and the thing would like come out from the burners on the stove because I get a gas stove, and I would like bang something to be like, oh, okay, sign of respect, go at least go back in the stove, and like no, and it would just sit there, and it's like no, because like I'm the one who wears the pants in this house, right? And that's like it shook up my sense of the hierarchy. And so I needed to take this action in retaliation, for psychological reasons.
Got it. All right.
I won.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't covered? I mean, there's plenty of ground that we haven't covered. Anything particularly you'd like to share?
I mean, I'm just really grateful to just have this conversation and that you guys are interested in the film. I mean, I just want people to see the movie so that they can see what's going on in California, so that they can see that cannabis isn't a scary proposition. It's good for wellness. I'm good. I mean, if you guys have any other questions.
Oh, okay. Wait. This is a ring. Well, I don't know if a ringer is the right word. No, it's the opposite of a ringer. So, do you know of so there's sativa and indica? I know you brought that up. Are you familiar with ruderalis?
Is that mold?
Ruderalis? No, it's the strain. I think it's found in parts of Russia, maybe.
Oh no, I don't.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering where you stood in the debate.
No, I'm not a weed expert. Maybe you think I am, but
yeah.
No.
This was our. So this was our foray into your cinematic universe. Actually, can we get the other stuff? And I was actually looking at IMDb. Are the other things you've worked on available?
You know what? I get asked all the time. I should just put them on my website.
Yeah.
I will. My website has some of my music videos on there. It's cjrusso.com.
Oh, okay.
And then also you can go to ladybudsmovie.com to see what's going on with the film. And then on Instagram, we're at lady.buds and Facebook ladybuds. So I just would like, if people watch the film, reach out, let me know what you think. It's always wonderful to hear that people are watching the movie. Like I get these random texts and direct messages. I just saw the film, and it's just like, it just touches me so much when I hear from people, so it's cool.
I've got to give a shout out to my sister for introducing us. So that was, thank you, Shira.
Shira, we had a good time in New York. She came to the Doc NYC screening.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
She came to, it's called the Cineopolis in Chelsea. And it was an amazing screening. The projection and the 5.1 sound was phenomenal. That's another one of the most amazing rewards of being able to be in the theater. It's just technically, it was outrageously wonderful. And we had a great time. We hung out, and then we went to, we lived it up that night. Where did we go? That fancy restaurant. What's it called? Balthazar, I think. Balthazar.
Okay.
Yeah. It was fun. Yeah, I've known Shira for a while, since Sundance days when she used to.
That's right. Yeah, she was. I don't know what the right word is. She was a volunteer there. I thought of her. She was a bouncer at one point. I don't know if she wasn't. There was some private event.
I think she was working at the Queer Lounge.
It was the Queer Lounge.
Producer Rebecca Sekulich. Yeah. So it was nice to see her again. I hadn't seen her for a long time.
Uh-huh. Well, were you also volunteering at the Queer Lounge? Is that?
No, I had a short there at Sundance. I know we're talking about a long time ago, but that's when I had my short at Sundance. Was during that whole time.
Oh.
I used to go to Sundance a lot.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's when I had my short there.
Oh, Yeah, it's too bad that it's I mean, it's good that they're not doing it in person, but it's too bad that they're not doing it in person.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good from a safety perspective.
Hopefully next year. I mean, yeah, time is fine.
Again, fingers crossed. This is the second time I've crossed my fingers.
I know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. I mean, this has been awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. This has been really fun.
So this has been Anomaly Questionable Movies. Today we covered the movie Ladybuds 2021. And we had on director CJ.
DJ Russo. There's a full name. Right?
DJ Russo. I just like we become such close friends in the last hour. And it just feels like overly formal. Anyway, but so if you like this it's not a video. If you like listening, if we're preferable to the voices in your head, click subscribe, leave a comment if you want it. We will probably respond to it. This is a mom and pop operate. I don't know whether Ron or I or mom or pop. Maybe you can vote on it. But anyway,
Pop and pop.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Ron and Daniel.
All right. Take care.